see, the first one we're going to work with is a Flaky Deli pastry. And how many of you ever had one of those holidays, ham and cheese on a roll that you usually bake off for the holidays? This is similar, except it's just using a flaky crust instead of using the rolls. The second one is a quiche Lorraine bites. Now, both of these recipes, well, actually all three of these recipes, you can tweak them, work with them, change them to your own particular preference. Like with the deli ones, this has ham here. You can use turkey or whatever you want to, different types of cheese, switch it around. With a quiche Lorraine, if you want to add a little bit of spinach to it, or add a little bit of onion, a green onion to it, just to kind of kick it up a little bit, feel free. The fresh fruit Napoleon, which is the last one, I gave a small list of just some fresh fruits here, but don't limit to that. I mean, if you want to use apples and bananas and raisins or currants and things like that, it's what you like, what you particularly have a taste for. Just kind of mix it up a little bit. But we'll go over the basics of these recipes and then some other alternatives as we go through them. Okay. The Flaky Deli pastry. Let's go ahead and grab out this pastry here. Now you do want to make sure, regardless if you're buying a frozen shell or a pastry or you're making it yourself, make sure that it is thawed out before you make this. So that way you can stretch it out, and if it's not perfect, that's okay, because when it cooks up, it's going to form itself in the shape, and it's going to be just fine. Now, we're using a Dijon or a brown mustard, whichever, some people may prefer a slightly spicier brown mustard because they have some various levels of heat. Feel free to experiment there as well. And basically, just kind of get the center of it. You don't want to really overdo it with this, just enough to add a slight flavor to it. But keep the edges clear because you want to make sure and be able to seal this. I got that under? Okay, I actually got it under there this time. Okay. Like I said, that don't have to be perfect, just enough through there. Now I'm using some yellow American and Swiss cheese for this. And you can also switch it out with beef and provolone. It works really well with this as well. Once again, just make sure not to cover the edge part. Like so.
Michael, that looks like it's thin. Did you get it from the deli and have it very thinly sliced?
Yeah, this I sliced myself there in the deli. I mean, if you want to use prepackaged, it's already pre-sliced, that works just as fine. Level of thickness really has no effect. It depends. It's just the flavor, how much you want. With this, I have all of my meats and my cheese all sliced the same thickness. So that way you don't have one overbearing.
What thickness is that?
This, if you go down there, this is what you called a number one or a shave. It's just thin enough to where it's holding together and not falling apart. All right, now we're going to grab the Swiss. And if you don't like too strong of a Swiss, you can always get the baby Swiss too. There we go. Okay. Now the Swiss cheese is slightly larger, so I use a little bit less of it on this. Now the ham that I'm using tonight is tavern ham. If you want to use the regular deli ham or smoked Virginia ham, or even a Black Forest. You know, that would work just as well. And besides the pepperoni, we also have, you know, the hard salami down there. You can actually put both of them on if you want to, make like an Italian sub style, or just switch them out. Okay. And the main thing, you want to get at least about halfway there to get at least one good row in there. Now, as it's pushing, you see the meat starting to go off to the side. It's okay. What you're going to do is you're going to grab that meat and you're going to pull. And what that's doing, that's stretching the dough, but that's okay, because you can finish rolling it over. Just reach under there and seal that edge. And on these end edges, make sure you seal those too. Because what will happen if you don't seal those up real good, the cheese will probably melt and it may come through there. And plus, like if you're using certain types of meat like the pepperoni or salami, it'll have that grease in it and it'll bubble out and come out the edges too. And you gotta be careful when it does that, because it can burn along the edges. But if you seal it up real good, it'll just cook right inside there. Okay. Just make sure you can get a nice shape there. What you do, take a little egg wash. I'm going to coat the top of that. And you're going to bake that in the oven at 400 degrees, approximately 12 to 15 minutes for this. And when it comes out, now, of course, I've already pre-cut this though. So you have a nice presentation with it, but one thing you want to add here, and I use a little bit of basil, just a light sprinkle. It just kind of kicks in just a little extra flavor in there. But you can also use Italian seasoning, or if you don't want a real strong flavor to it, just use a little bit of parsley. And that's more just for the looks, for the presentation. But with just the basil, it works really well, and you'll tell in the flavor in it. Okay.